You think what you're looking at right now is just a lighthouse. But what if I told you it was never just a lighthouse? What if those magnificent stone structures, those impossible towers rising in the middle of storms, were never built to guide ships, but for an entirely different purpose? Think about it for a moment. Why would you construct those massive structures from granite on isolated rocks in the middle of the ocean with no modern equipment whatsoever, just to light a single bulb? If you want to know the answer, don't leave the screen, because this story is about to rewrite almost everything you were ever taught. Let's begin. In history, there are secrets so vast, so far-reaching, that the only way to hide them isn't denial, it's renaming. If they can't change what something is, they change the story of what it is. And that is exactly why these giant towers, erected along the world's coastlines for hundreds of years, always told you the same tale. We only guide ships. But the truth was far deeper, far darker, and far more electric. In an era that never made it into the history books, the engineers of that great civilization we now call Tartaria had wrapped the entire world in a network. This network was far more advanced, far cleaner, and far more silent than today's electrical grids. Centuries before Tesla, Tartaria's engineers had understood something fundamental. The atmosphere is an infinite energy reservoir. The Earth itself is a massive conductor, and water is the perfect carrier of that energy. So what did they need to power this system? Towers, tall, conductive, and positioned by the water, placed at strategic points across the globe. Exactly what we call lighthouses today. Now put on your engineering glasses for a moment. Look at the locations of lighthouses scattered across the world. They are not random. They are placed at the most strategic points along coastlines, at the most energetically active intersections of the oceans, at the geographic locations where air currents are the most powerful. Not just along European shores, but on Pacific islands, in remote corners of the Indian Ocean, on frozen coastlines near the poles, a vast, global network. Why would such precise, meticulous placement be needed all around the world just to guide a ship's captain? Why would a single light require such careful coordination? The answer is simple: because light was never the real purpose. These structures were the coastal nodes of Tartaria's worldwide wireless power grid. Each one collected atmospheric electricity, amplified it through water, and transmitted it wirelessly to coastal settlements and regions across the land. And this idea isn't as speculative as you might think. Consider Niagara Falls. Beneath those structures you know today as hydroelectric plants, there are chambers, discovered and quickly hidden from the public, lined with conductive materials, featuring strange geometric arrangements, containing structural elements found in no standard hydroelectric facility. The official explanation? Historic storage areas. Of course. Then we look underground in Berlin, a subterranean heating network said to have been built in the 19th century that still heats the city today, and whose exact workings no one can fully explain. Engineers are baffled. Historians are silent. And that silence is the greatest answer of all. This is exactly where the concept comes in: functional rebranding. If you can't destroy a system, if you can't fully erase a technology, what do? You give it a new name. You invent a new story. People don't question what they've grown used to seeing. And so the towers of the world's most advanced energy transmission network were reborn as simple lighthouse towers. Their granite bodies dozens of meters tall, their foundations defying ocean storms, their strange acoustic properties and metallic resonance chambers, all of it was now explained away as just for holding a light. And for generations, we believed that story without question. But those who study the architecture know building these structures was impossible. Even with today's technology, constructing some lighthouses would pose a serious challenge for engineers. Eddystone, Scarivore, Bishop Rock. These were erected on solitary rocks in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by massive waves, allegedly with no modern equipment at all. Official history explains this miracle through human determination. But that same official history claims to know nothing of Tartaria, a civilization that built engineering marvels of comparable scale. How can a civilization demonstrate the capacity to erect structures of this magnitude and simultaneously vanish entirely from the historical record? The answer: it didn't vanish. It was renamed. The accounts of Tartaria's glowing cities speak of towns that shone brilliantly at night, long before Tesla or Edison ever appeared. Looking at old engravings, ancient maps, and the notes of travelers who found it nearly impossible to believe, you notice a strange dim glow in the streets, a mysterious light seeping from inside buildings. So where did this energy come from? Some of the towers we now dismiss as historic aesthetic stood inside these very cities. But the main energy line began at the coast. Lighthouses were the first link in the transmission chain through which these glowing cities pulsed. Energy collected from the atmosphere was carried through water, transmitted from these giant coastal towers into the cities, and no one ever called it electricity, because everyone experienced it as something completely normal and natural. And then came the Great Reset. Historians call this period by different names: the Industrial Revolution, the French Revolution, societal restructuring. But whatever name it carries, what actually happened during this era was this: a technology thousands of years old was deliberately erased from history. A free, clean, and accessible energy system was either seized by newly forming power structures or destroyed entirely. The towers of that technology, its network nodes, its transmission systems. Some were kept alive by being assigned different functions, others were reduced to ruins. Have you noticed that the vast majority of lighthouses were restored or rebuilt in the 19th century? That period corresponds exactly to this great erasure operation. The original structure's internal mechanisms, their energy collection systems, those strange metallic chambers, and conductive materials, all stripped away, replaced with an ordinary lens and a lamp. And the world's greatest energy network was transformed into the most ordinary of objects: a lighthouse. So why are they still standing? Because demolishing them raises questions. Renaming them silences them. And that is why they still stand along the coastlines today, calm, magnificent, and silent. They have buried history's greatest secret within their stones, and they watch you with eyes that face the sea. The next time you look at a lighthouse, you won't just see a light. You are looking at a silent witness to a technology hidden for centuries, a civilization deliberately renamed, and a truth stolen from you. Why was this knowledge erased? Who erased it? And more importantly, what else was erased? The answers are closer than you expect. As I always say, the truth comes out sooner or later.